I find it saddening when you explain to us that medieval Christians believed that the coming of Christ was the fulfillment of pagan yearning and longing. So we some of us may call these all Christians. Well, they came in dark ages, they were primitive, all these things. Yet when it comes to these things, they're way more advanced and way more familiar with some important texts than nowadays or modern Christians who are so anti-intellectual. Do you, as a man of books, man of studies, and a professor and a scholar, do you find this frustrating on your end as well?
It can be. I think it's been maybe about 25 years. There was a book called The Scandal of the Evangelical Mind. And if you've ever seen that. And the scandal of the evangelical mind was that there wasn't one. And I understand why there has been, in America particularly, an anti intellectual movement because the universities got more and more liberal, more and more progressive, and we ended up polarizing ourselves. We're doing again. Churches are polarizing themselves. And we need to be careful. Yes, pride does puff up, but that doesn't mean that knowledge necessarily has to turn you into a snob and scoffing everybody. It doesn't have to. God can take the intelligence that He's given and nurtured in us and use it to, serve God and serve our fellow man. But again, there is that. I mean, it's a shame. You've met young men that are strong believers and they go off to seminary and then they're like, well, that's St. Paul. I only read the words in red, that kind of stuff. And now I know how the Bible works. And well, only a fool believes that Matthew and Mark and Luke actually wrote those books. Yeah, all of this. There's a sort of intellectualism that is negative, a sort of negative criticism that puts us above the scriptures. But it is not learning itself that does that. True learning should lead to humility, right? All the way back to Socrates, right? The more I learn, the more I realize what I don't know. In fact, Socrates considered that he was the wisest man because he knew that he did not know. And in that, he was wiser than the other Athenians, which sounds funny, but he was very sincere about it. Again, the more we learn, the more we realize what we do not know. And it should breed humility and awe and wonder. But too often in America, and I think even worse in Europe, it breeds a kind of intellectualism that leads to a pride that looks down on everyone else as primitive. Did you see the movie The Witch?
No, I haven't.
It's got to be, again, very, very negative view of the Puritans and all this sort of stuff. America, killed 20 witches in our entire history. The Europeans were doing that every day for 200 years, and they still attack us. Anyway, that drives me crazy. But anyway, the scariest thing about that movie, it was a scary movie, but I watched the special feature, and they were interviewing one of the young girls who was an actress in the movie, and she says, yeah, apparently back then, those people believed that they could talk to God and pray, and He would answer them. And it was terrifying to see the unbelievable smugness of this little girl, which obviously was indoctrinated in her by her parents and teachers and what. No child acts like that. Children have a sense of wonder unless it's beaten out of them. So it can be beaten out of us. But if we are grounded and we yield our mind, we're supposed to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. I think we can even add the word imagination. But we have to worship God with our mind as well. God created our mind. He created us with the ability to learn and explore and reach out. And that's important, right? The Christians were helped by people like Aristotle and Plato to have a philosophical language in which to embody the doctrine. That doesn't mean that it is pagan. It's just that God used people like Plato and Aristotle to help formulate a terminology that would allow them to express the doctrine in clear philosophic terms, as they do in the Nicene Creed.